Well, good evening, everyone. I don't want to take up a lot of your time tonight, and I know I'm just filling in a little bit while people join this now, and obviously many will look at it later. Just got back from Israel tour, and I want to just touch a few things. I've put a fair bit on Facebook that you can have a look at, videos, and Karen's put lots of photos. But I don't think we can fully grasp and explain the depth. There's the Wailing Wall or the Western Wall behind us there that I've always looked at this from a distance and seen photos and heard different people's experiences, but it was in the busyness of a very constant schedule for 10 days, went all over from the Lebanon border right down through the Jordan River, through the Sea of Galilee, down to the Dead Sea, across to the Golan Heights, the West Bank, and all the things that we hear about on the news all the time with conflicts and that we see in the Bible. And it was just fascinating and powerful and brought, you hear people say it brings the Bible alive. I'm not sure what that means exactly, other than it puts it into a context, it brings it into a reality. And so I want to share a little bit about that just for a little while tonight, and some of the experiences. But I also want to just share, we've had quite a few join our new school of ministry, the Powerhouse School of Supernatural Ministries, which is an online course, and I want to talk a little bit about that in just a moment. For those that are interested in having a look and wondering whether it suits you or would be something that would be good for you before you stand before Jesus at the end and actually get to do what is in your heart to do, because you feel qualified, you feel like you've been trained and equipped and discipled to be that person. I'm grateful that I've got to do what I do around the world, and mentors and people help me, but no one really discipled me. No one really put it into context and put it in a way that it made sense to how I not only changed my life, my marriage, my family, but I changed the world around me because of the changes that have happened in me. I got a little croaky. We had a 4-day trip on the way home from Israel with weather conditions, as you guys all up north are used to. But it was a longer trip than even Karen and I were used to, and the planes have squashed the seats in and made a lot more uncomfortable than what we've experienced for 36 years of traveling. But anyway, want to get into this a little bit, and I want to just share some of the beautiful experiences I had. We landed and we came into Tel Aviv, and many years ago I was taking a team over there, and we had our first accident and had to be cancelled. And so it was wonderful after all these years to finally get in and land in Tel Aviv, and be on the big Mediterranean Sea on the outside there, and we just left before all the riots and all the protests were taking place over what's happening with the Prime Minister and the Supreme Court and so forth, and just ridiculous, gone on in this country, and it's gone on in Australia, and here we are in God's holy land in conflict. Well, you wouldn't believe it, would you? Well, of course, it's on all the time over there. The most blessed nation and the most hated nation in the world, and the most loved, hopefully, by us who understand the Word of God. And anyway, we went up into the Mount of Olives, and we came down through the top there, and it was just an amazing experience to come down. And even though the Mount of Olives is really about 4 or 5 mountains, and it's covered in houses, and it's not like most of it that you would imagine Jesus going up there like in Mel Gibson's movie. But then you come into places that are preserved, and it's the same all over the country, where they have preserved areas that are deemed to be where Jesus walked. And here's the Mount of Olives, and heading down to the Garden of Gethsemane, and the Catholics have put churches and memorials everywhere, and I'm not sure whether they're 100% right. They really know how to capitalize on history, but at the same time, it's helped preserve the things. And so you're looking behind me, the Wailing Wall, and I want to talk about that just briefly in a moment. But the thing that fascinated me was the fig tree, not the fig trees, the olive trees that were there. And these are not as old as when Jesus walked, but some of them were very, very old. And I don't think I can show you all the photos tonight, but some of them were as big as a big oak tree at the base, but they kept pruning them back and reshooting. And they would shoot from the roots. And, the Bible talks about the root and the root of Jesse. And there's just lots of that. It's going to come out in my teaching in the schools and in my ministry around the world, that I just see it a little bit more clearly, because I touch and felt things. And I want to talk about that a little bit. We went to the old city, and there's a big walled city, and this is just one of the walls. There's lots of walls. There's Gate Beautiful, the eastern wall, the western wall, and so forth. But this is where we entered the old city, which is thousands of years old. And this gate was called I think it's the Eastern Gate originally, and then they called it Stephen's Gate because it was just outside that gate where Peter was stoned to death and preached his sermon. And then later, through circumstances, it was called the Lion's Gate. So, history changes things, but those walls remain the same. And it was just fascinating as we drove all around this old city and looked at it from the Mount of Olives, the two places that Jesus is going to return to when he comes back to earth. And even that's overwhelming, even just grasping that with all the busyness. And look, there's buses and tourists and people living, selling stuff, and like everywhere, that capitalizes on the sightseeing. But in amongst it all, if you've got a heart for God, your spirit is reaching out and touching things. And for me, it was a good timing, even though twice I've tried to get there and it got interfered with and stopped. You go through those big old city walls and you go into the little narrow streets, and it's just like you've gone back a long way. It's not like the same cobblestones that Jesus walked on, but it's the same general area. And if you go down, you'll find the original city of 3,000 years ago or plus. And so, one of the things we did was we traveled across to the Dead Sea. We were on the Sea of Galilee. We went from the Sea of Galilee down to the Dead Sea, and we went up to the Lebanon border and looked across the valleys, the Jezreel Valley and so forth. And I've said this before, I've often thought of Israel because you see sort of the rocks and the really arable desert sort of country. And I always used to think, why would God pick that land? Man, I've lived on better land than that. I've owned better land than that. And I thought, how can they call that a promised land? Why did they die to get there? Because it just looks like rocks and rocky ground, and that exists. It's all there, and it's amazing really to see where they would move those rocks on the side of a steep hill and build terraces by hand. And there's just so much to look at and to fathom and to be amazed at. But when we got up into the valley of Jezreel and looked across, and I looked at, as you can see there, just hundreds and hundreds of miles and of beautiful fertile land and crops, and I've got a video here that will share maybe a little bit, if it'll come on, just a little bit of my take on it while I was looking at that valley and being a little overwhelmed with its beauty. So have a listen to this. The valley of Jezreel behind me, producing a lot of the food for the whole world from here. But Israel is 95% self-sufficient, so they don't have to rely on other nations of the world. Obviously their neighbours are not very friendly, so I often wondered when I looked at photos of Israel and just all rocks and dry land, but certainly got some fertility here that God has blessed it. Yeah, if you heard all that and you actually listen to the, the fact that Israel is self-sufficient. They grow not only 95% of their needs for food, and something we need to learn from in our Western countries, because we've made ourselves dependent on other countries that don't love us, that are really our enemies. And so Israel has enemies surrounding them, as it will towards the end. And we went to a similar look that you've got there, and looked over the Valley of Armageddon, where the final battle will be, and it's as wide as what you can see there. And the blood will be up to the horse's bridle. And my God, there's so much to just try to fathom what that really means, and that we're getting closer to it every day. And brothers and sisters, we need to be about the Father's business. And this was early in the piece, and this was 6 o'clock or so in the morning. And obviously Karen and I have got, for years of revival meetings, we're not 6 o'clock in the morning people anymore, so we look pretty tired and sleepy there, as I feel now after 4 days of traveling. But it was beautiful. And we went out on a boat, and we went out and looked at things all around that beautiful city. And you imagine Jesus walking across the water, and you look back up into Tiberia and different places that are all in the Bible, and they're looking across to the Golan Heights right behind me there, where the sun is coming up in the morning. And it's fascinating to be there. You know, I don't want to overdo it, but I've heard people say this for years, but honestly, if you haven't been, it's worth putting on your bucket list and doing it. If you don't get to do it, I'm going to share for the rest of my life, you know, and share out of my experience. I'm going to take my kids over there, at least my 3 kids, maybe not all the extended family, because I want them to feel what I've felt, and to make what we've done for years just a little bit more real. And so that was a beautiful spot there, and the sunrise coming up. And I walked around and did a lot of videos that I've already put out there, and some I'll put out later, a lot of it in the school that I want to talk about in a minute. And the thing I want to talk about just briefly is the school. And if you are interested in the school, and I hope a lot of you are, people that have learnt from me and been blessed by our ministry, and I know there's lots of other places to learn from, and there's lots of schools available. So it's up to those who choose, because of your relationship with us, or you know what we carry and what we have and how we can impart into your life. Education is not what I'm trying to do, although it might play a small part in it. The pattern of the world has been education and instead of impartation. And so I want to impart the secrets of the kingdom through my experiences. I've got a book that's going into the editors right now, and hopefully it'll be out shortly. If they're listening to me, I'm hoping we're getting on with it. But I've been writing that for most of my life, to be honest. It's got a lot of my life story, a lot of the secrets of the kingdom and things that have brought revival and changed life. And I know it'll be a good book, like a textbook almost, of how to grow in God. And a lot of that I want to bring into the school of supernatural ministries. And it's a fraction of the cost, and I've made it affordable. Everyone's thanking me for making it affordable. It was 3 times the price of this when we did it in the DSMI Ministry Center in Crystal. But because it's open to so many, I believe that there'll be an economy of scale where we get quite a lot of students from all over the world, and it will justify my time. I'm going to put a lot of time into it, and I want this to be something that's you know, I don't want to get old and not have trained people to do what they're meant to do. And I guess I've done that in revival and traveling, and so many people thank me for what I've done. But crikey, there's so many that are going to stand before God, and they're not going to have achieved what was in God's heart for them to touch and to do. And God's the only one that can create that in you and do it through you. And many people just don't understand how that happens. And I want to talk out of the sacrifices that Karen and I have made, leaving our country, and just, you know, you didn't think about it when you did it. You did it by faith, I guess. In hindsight, it was faith, because sometimes I wonder what the heck I've done. Like I love my own country, I love my parents, and we traveled the world and touched everyone else's life, and parents and brothers and sisters, and I'm not sometimes even sure where my own family are going to end up. And that's hard, and I know many feel that. You can touch a stranger sometimes easier than you can touch your own flesh and blood. But here's the link that's on dsmi.org, or it's also on Doug Stanton Facebook and Doug Stanton Ministries International Facebook. And when you just click that, it will take you to a website. It takes you to a site that I've created, and it will come up with something like this at the very beginning, and you scroll right down. So I've just got screenshots of it, and it's the Powerhouse School of Ministry. It's a Power School of Supernatural Ministries, but I've just shortened it there a bit. Doug Stanton introduces the school, and I talk about a little bit about what it's about there, and then there's a video there and it says 35 years. So 5 years ago, I made this video when I started to do my original web page for this, and I paid several $1,000s or whatever to get the framework of that web page put up. And I had to move, or we sold the center, or something took place. And I actually did this in Australia, I think. And you just push that, and it's just showing some of the 10 crusades and things that we've done at that stage around our life, and that I had access to. I am a little jet lagged, so I hope you're getting this tonight. And that's a video worth hearing, and it's just passionate, and it shares. It goes to me talking. I'm a little bit younger and a little less wrinkly a few years ago, and I'm just telling you what my heart was then, and it's the same now. And when I found this, I thought, crikey, I'm not going to do a new one, because that shares my heart. So open that up, have a look at that. And then as you do that, it'll open up to, you scroll down, and it just says these things. This is your landing page. And it's placed there where you can submit your email. And then you scroll down a little bit further, and it will take you to just some statements all the way through. Training for every person to equip every believer with their God-given destiny. Then it goes down a little bit further, and it says, do you desire, I guess I'll bring this a little bit, to actually walk in the power that Jesus walked in, and to have it fully activated in your own life and ministry? Doug is committed to help you realize your God-given dreams in a very practical way, without spending years away in a physical school. So you can do this while you're still working and looking after your family, and you don't have to go and spend $4,500 a year plus accommodation plus everything else, and you can do it at your own pace. It's not academic. I'm not trying to make this like an academic school. There is things to do, and there's assignments, and there's quizzes, and there's things that I want you to talk about, mainly so I know you get it, that it gets inside you, that it becomes part of you. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm not trying to, give you a mark out of 5 or 10 and say, well, you failed. You can't fail this. You're just going to get better at walking with God because you do it. And that's the most important thing. And so as you scroll down, you'll see that there's this section here, and it will go, our online ministry training program is now available. This is available online now, and is a pace set course that can be made to fit your time and financial structure. It is a 2-year course with an optional 3rd year for those seeking full ordination. So not everyone's going to do 3 years. Not everyone might do, not everyone will do maybe even more than 1 year. That's up to you. And each year is a certificate course, and it qualifies you. If you're going to your pastor or changing missions or churches, it's a qualification that we endorse right through to ordination if you want to. And each year allows you to go into the next year. And so each year will be a certificate course on graduation. On graduation of each year, the student will receive a certificate of completion that qualifies them to enter the next year. And if appropriate, to full ordination in recognition of their ministry call. Now, not everyone is called to the fivefold ministry or the missions, so it's up to you if you choose to do that. But you just might find you are called to something greater by doing the first 2 years. That has been recognised or discovered during the training together. Now, what I want you to see over here is that the 1 year is a Certificate of Biblical Studies, and then the second year we call it the Certificate of Christian Ministry. And so, you know, if you were applying for a job or a ministry or whatever anywhere with a church, then it's a qualification. I'm not one into great papers and credentials, to be honest, but, you know, I believe what I can help you with will be a benefit to you. And the third year, ordination or certificate of ordination as a minister of the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. And this will involve at least 2 mission trips with me or our family, and hopefully a lot more. We're going to get our big vehicle and we're going to do mission trips overseas as allowed, back to Australia and also to other parts of the world. But we're also going to get our truck and our mobile stage to go around America and many cities of America, as well as the ministry into churches and so forth that we always do. So if that interests you, go in it. So you'll see down as you scroll through that first landing page, and you look up and down and then put your email in so that we can communicate. Tell me if you're interested. And if you want to go further, you hit the Learn More button. And as you hit that Learn More button, and you don't do what I just did and open every screen that you don't want, and you hit that Learn More button, and it will take you to this one. And it'll be a photo of our lake here on the 200-acre farm, which we're going to do camp meetings with eventually, and I'm working on it. And it's beautiful green like it is there now. And it says that your ministry school year 1. And so it takes you into the school, and again, you scroll down and you see a lot of things, and you look up and down, and there's lots of things in there, and it'll show you here where it's just an example of the curriculum: introduction, making of a minister of Christ, selfless life of a minister, a true disciple of Christ, understanding the laws that determine our life. And there will just be many subjects and lessons with videos and downloadable resources, and there's quizzes. It's a beautiful program that will take you in. It's not complicated. You don't have to be special to do it. You don't have to be academic and clever. Some of you will do a better job than others. I'm not looking at you like the world looks at a student. I'm looking at you as someone that's going to do something great for God because you get to know Him. And you'll see down there, and there's lots of parables and things that I've put on that page to help you understand while we're doing it. And then you'll see a pricing structure. And so as you go through those pages and you hit the pricing, it'll take you to a screen like this. It works out about $50 a month over those 9 months. If you want to spread it over 12 months, it's more like around the $40, under $37 or something like that a month, which is really, if it changes your life, it's nothing. I've made it as cheap as I possibly can. But it's going to take a lot of my time and energy, and when I'm doing this, I can't do something else. And so I appreciate you putting some value on this. It's worth a lot more. I cannot put a price on what I believe I can share with people. I never have. But this is just making the whole thing work. And so if you're interested, you hit that place order and put in your details, and it will enroll you. And then the whole platform opens up to you, and you go in, the curriculum opens up, and you start to do it. And we'll be building on that regularly. Even when I'm traveling, I'll be building new subjects in. There are new people that I had, all the 7 international teachers that I had in the school before. I've got all the DVD teaching of Pastor Derek and various ones there, Pastor Alan Langstaff, and veterans of ministry that have traveled the world, been on the boards of some of the biggest ministries in the world. Pastor Derek had a 6,000 people church in South Africa. My brain's starting to shut down. I hope yours isn't. But I've got jet lag. I've got an excuse. So anyway, these are all things that I just wanted to share for those that have an interest. Go to our webpage, go to our Facebook page, hit the link, have a look at it. If you've got any questions, inbox me. Once you get in there, we'll have communication. There's also, for those who are students, there's another option there as well as the course. Those who are enrolled in the course can enroll to have personal coaching. And, it's 3 sessions a month. I can't do more than that, but it means I can speak into your life. I can be a voice into your life beyond all that we do in the school. I don't think that's for everyone, but there's some who are going to want that. There's already several signed up for that. There's going to be a limit to that because of my time, but for those that seriously want to do it, I want to have the option to say whether that's good for you or not good for you. Maybe before you sign up, question me and say, do I think you need it or don't need it? If you know me enough and you've been around and you think it would be value to you to do that, to have that personal time with me where I can FaceTime you or Zoom or whatever we want to do, then I think it would be a blessing. And so it's the Powerhouse School of Supernatural Ministries, and I'm talking to you from the Wailing Wall, and I want it to be a blessing to you and to others. And honestly, I just am amazed at this trip I've done. I've got to stop here, but I'm amazed at the experiences we had. I'm still digesting it. It got a little sport with 4 days of traveling and lots of things that happened with weather and just tiredness. And then coming back to our Bluey, who had, I don't know whether I've got a photo here, but Bluey had 8 pups over 12 hours the night we came home, just longing to get in our bed and sleep. And of course, we love our dog, and she's done such an amazing job. God is such a miracle-working God. As I look at that 1,000-year-old wall behind me, and I think, here's a dog that 2 years old. We didn't plan this pregnancy. A dog sort of visited, and it's a good pedigree dog, thank God. But here we are with 8 little puppies, and she brought everyone out. She licked everyone, stimulated it, did everything just God created her to do. And it just, like Israel, it just made me understand the beauty of who God is, and that it all makes sense if you can just step away from the chaos and step away from the mistakes and the hurts of the past and the blaming and the suspicion and all that kind of worldly stuff, and get in a position where God enlarges your life. So that's what I want for you in this course. Listen to it. Go to the video at least. Look, I'm not going to be offended that there's going to be lots of people that won't do this and might want to do it, or they think they can't afford it. If you think you can't afford it, inbox me and talk to me about it. I think you can. If you can buy a cup of coffee and buy McDonald's and you can buy stuff, you can do this if you really want to. You can find a way to do it. But I don't want anyone to miss out if they really want to do it. So let's see what happens here. I'm not sponsoring Western people. I'm going to sponsor third world people, and you will help me do that by paying what you are able to do. And I'm not going to charge people that are in the Philippines or somewhere else unless they are business people and they can afford it. But if they're in missions or in the ministry and the many I know in different parts of the world, I'm going to hopefully, with your help, make this available to them without cost or very minimum cost. Anyway, I love you. There's so much more I want to show you and talk to you about. And there's Gate, beautiful there. Come on, Gate, open up. And so that's the Powerhouse. And, I want to talk about that one time, and I'll talk about it in detail in the school, where the new temple is expected to be built is directly out from those eastern gates, or the Gate Beautiful, the gate that they call Beautiful. And they put the Temple Mount, the Muslim big orange dome, gold dome thing, right in the middle, thinking they've blocked us from, or blocked the Israelites from from building that temple. But anyway, a lot to talk about, and we'll talk about it next time. God bless you. Thank you for joining me, and I hope this wasn't too much information, but love you. Pray for our family. Pray for the ministry here, and we're about to go up to New York and believing for revival in different places, and then hopefully back to northern Minnesota to go through quite a few cities, and maybe Wisconsin in the middle of that. We have an invitation there, and lots of things that we're going to move on to do through the summer. But I'll be building into this school all the time, so I hope you can join us. I hope it's something that many of you will place value on and come and be a part of it. And I'm looking for feedback. I'm looking for it to be not just something extra for you to do, but something that brings the extra out of you that hasn't been brought out yet. And we've managed to do that with a lot of people over 45 years, and I want to help you. So God bless you. 30 minutes is up, so I'm pulling out and going to just allow this to do whatever it does, and I'll be back with you soon. God bless you. Thanks for joining me. Look at the things we've put on our Facebook, and man, I need to go and get some sleep. Thank you. Bye for now.